You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. Cloudy day here in Chattanooga. We have all the clouds and all the rain. So be safe as you drive out there. Wishing everybody a safe Thursday. NFL football on tonight. Thursday night football. I still don't know how I feel about Thursday night football. I like it to open the season because you can't wait to get to watch some football. And I guess there is something nice about there being the game on when you get home. Steelers and Ravens tonight. Must-win game for the Ravens. You can't start the season 0-4. Their season is already in jeopardy. You start 0-4. I mean, in that division, it's over. The Steelers, without quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, Mike Vick to get the start for them. So there's still hope there for the Ravens tonight. Moving forward in college football, and I think it's pretty interesting what's been happening in the SEC, because you just have some teams that have been really, really surprising, and one team that hasn't been surprising, one team that's actually done the thing that we've expected them to do, which is in itself a surprise, is Georgia. Georgia is continuing to win. They're playing very well. Their quarterback, Grayson Lambert, looks good. They run the ball well. Their offense is good. They play Alabama, so that's a tough game. Alabama's always going to be tough, but they play at home. They're in Athens, Georgia, and the Bulldogs win this one. They are arguably they should be in that conversation for national championship contention. That's a real conversation that you can start to have if you get to go over the top of the hurdle that is the Alabama Crimson Tide. That of all the teams in college sports, the University of Georgia is actually one of the teams under head coach Mark Richt. They're one of the teams that have the highest winning percentage with no title to show for it. They've been extremely successful, but because of certain key losses at different points in the season, that the Bulldogs haven't had a championship to show for how good they've actually been. And the way things are lining up for them on offense and defense, defense is okay, but the offense is so potent that this could be the year for them. This really could. So I'm looking forward to that. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. I was listening to everyone's analysis of Derrick Rose this entire week, and I've had my own analysis on Derrick Rose as well. And I think that Derrick Rose is the kind of guy that just he says things. He's unaware of how fans are going to take the things that he says. But I'm hearing a lot of things like, oh, Derrick Rose ought to shut up. Derrick Rose ought to stop talking. I don't like that Derrick Rose is talking about his money. Doesn't he have a lot of money? And it's not the kind of thing that sports fans like to hear. We like humility. Even when the humility isn't real humility, we still want the humility to be there. That we would rather somebody fake humility than be actually themselves and arrogant. That, yes, arrogance is not a great trait, okay? No one is arguing for arrogance. If you are in a room full of people and you're getting a lot of sideways looks in the room and you can't find the arrogant person in the room, you are more than likely the arrogant person in the room and nobody likes you. You don't like the arrogant guy. You don't like to play pickup basketball with the guy that knows that he can score 20 points on everybody and never passes you the ball. You don't like that guy. It's not a great guy. Arrogance is not a great trait. Okay, and arrogance is just pride in excess. Pride is a good trait. You have to have pride in what you do, pride in who you are. Treat yourself like you have pride in yourself. Dress like you've got pride. Take care of yourself. But then when you get excessive, now you're arrogant. And nobody likes that. And we definitely don't like it from athletes. And Derrick Rose is just known to say things that come across to athletes or to fans as arrogant, if not unaware. It could just be just unawareness. Derrick Rose will just give you the answer that he's thinking. That's just who he is. And he's not saying anything to slight anybody. If he talks about how he's looking forward to free agency 2 years from now, yes, that is a ridiculous thing to say. But why should he not say it? Where's the issue with Derrick Rose saying that? Did he hurt your feelings? Did he reach into your bank account to take the money? Is he not focused on basketball? Because he is. He is. You can't be focused basketball 24/7, and when he's not focused on basketball, apparently he's focused on money. Is that the worst thing in the world? It's not. It just isn't. And it was interesting because I was trying to figure out a way to frame this, and I was listening to the Digital Drive with Russell right before my show came on. I was prepping for the show, and I was thinking of a good way to frame this, and then he mentioned the people rating app that's like Yelp for people. And he was saying, he didn't think that it shouldn't be allowed, but man, that sounds like dystopia, doesn't it? That people are just anonymously rating you, and you can find out if people think that you're a crappy person or not through an app that people anonymously rate you through. That's terrifying, is it not? That is a terrifying prospect. But now, you think about it, athletes already live through that. They have a high profile, they're seen by everyone, and they don't know all of the individuals that say things to them. It's anonymous to them. As far as they're concerned, I am not anybody. If I were to stand here and take the opposite stance with Derrick Rose, as far as he's concerned, it's just an anonymous attack coming from a mass of people. Like, he's already being rated by people, and it's in Chicago locally, that must be hell. Because I've heard the things that sports fans are saying about him nationally, like people that don't even live in Chicago, have no connection to the Chicago Bulls whatsoever. I can't even imagine what it is like being in Chicago in the eye of that particular storm. And Derrick Rose is being rated anonymously. Me, I would hate that. I know I would hate that. I'm already super self-conscious about way too many things for there to be an app that exists so that people can tell me that I stay. Like, I understand that self-consciousness, I have not entered the correct industry for someone to be that hyper self-conscious. But at the same time, nobody's giving me a 4-star rating or a 5-star rating or in my worst fears, like a 1-star, like you just get a bunch of 1 stars, or your 3-star rating, which would be nice if like people rated you like a 3-star, but it's not that it's a bunch of people think you're average, which would be okay, but like a bunch of people like you, but then like a bunch of people really hate you. That would also be disheartening in so many ways. So many ways. And we don't like that. It's just a thing that sports fans don't like when athletes talk about money or talk about anything other than the sport that they play. Like, we would rather them behave like sport playing automatons that didn't have feelings and didn't have emotions and didn't have anything else to do in life. Hey, Derrick Rose, stop talking about money. Why aren't you thinking about basketball? Why aren't you dreaming about basketball in your sleep? Like, I don't even want to see you do a Scrooge McDuck dive into your money in your dreams. I want you to be on this throughout your life, as though making money weren't a thing that people like to do. That yes, Derrick Rose plays a game. Okay? Derrick Rose plays a game, and he makes a lot of money playing that game. And that's something that we would all like to do. It would be nice, if I could play basketball and make money off of it. There's a lot of video game tournaments, and I see that, and people say those things incredulously, like, you can make money playing video games, you can make millions of dollars playing video games. Well, yes, you can, because there's a market for it. That people pay to watch it, and by people paying to watch it, you can make money off of it. What's wrong with that? You should have thought to learn to play some video games then. Maybe that thought should have occurred to you. If you could play video, if it's so easy to do, go do it. Go play video games at a high enough level to make millions of dollars. It's not like they're going to the government for it and the government is just handing them basketball money. It's an organization that makes money that pays its players to do the thing. But for some reason, if Derrick Rose were to talk about wanting more money, that's a crime. That's just a bad thing for him to do. He's not supposed to do that. I can understand if you don't like it. I can understand if fans don't enjoy it. That's okay. But to tell him to stop talking, like Derrick Rose is just going to have to deal with the consequences of people not liking what he's saying. But when people start saying things like, he ought to shut up, he ought to stop talking, why? Why? Because I assure you on the basketball court, he's not thinking about anything else. It's like, well, he's got millions of dollars. He should be happy. He hasn't played that many games lately. He's been injured over the past few seasons. He's torn his right meniscus twice. He's torn his ACL once, and he's dealt with an ankle injury, and he's currently dealing with a broken orbital bone in his face after taking an elbow to his face in practice. So I understand that he hasn't been incredibly healthy, and NBA contracts, unlike their NFL counterparts, Derrick Rose is being paid even while he's injured. So he's basically being paid to not do anything, which I'm sure also adds to the outrage, except Derrick Rose didn't choose to be injured. Derrick Rose tore his ACL, and then he tore his meniscus, and then he tore his meniscus again. He didn't sit there with a knife stabbing them. He injured them playing basketball. He injured them on the court. And all of the people that are up in arms about it, all the people that want to be angry at Derrick Rose and say, you get back out there and you keep playing, he injured himself doing the thing that made him the money. So, of course, if he's worried about keeping it, why would that be unreasonable? Of course he is worried about keeping it. And yeah, you say, there's lots of millions. You've just got to manage it correctly. All of these things. I mean, look, dude's paying taxes. He doesn't get the same tax breaks that most millionaires would get, right? Because most millionaires get tax breaks owning businesses and things like that. Being a professional athlete means that you just pay the full brunt of being in the upper class in terms of taxes. It does. It also means that you also have an agent to pay. The guy that negotiated your contract to get you the money, he takes a nice chunk of it. And fortunately, Derrick Rose plays in the United States, because if he played in Canada for the Toronto Raptors, he'd be paying taxes to Canada and to the U.S. also. So yes, there's a lot of money left over after that, but it ain't all 300 million. That's just a fact. There's not all of it left afterwards. But Derrick Rose gets to make money being this guy that sacrificed his body to make all of this money. And he grew up incredibly poor. He grew up in a terrible, terrible part of Chicago, goes off to college, comes back, is drafted by the Bulls, is a hometown guy. You know what I mean? Hometown guy. And he grew up poor in Chicago. And if you know about those parts of Chicago, the west side of Chicago and the south side of Chicago, that has been fondly nicknamed by people who have been through there as Chirac, because of the violence and how it seems to feel like a war zone at times. A person coming from that background and having money and wanting to have so much money that their family would never have to worry again. All of a sudden, Derrick Rose isn't all that unreasonable, is he? He's rich now, but he is not. That was not always the case. And he is fortunate to be out. The Derrick Rose's brothers would be into stuff, into some shady stuff, and they wouldn't let him get involved because they're like, no, you're actually good at basketball. You're actually good. You can make it out of here. They wouldn't let him do it. Of course, he doesn't want to go back to that. And of course, not only does he not want to go back to that, but as a completely reasonable and very strong reaction, he doesn't want to be anywhere near that ever again, nor does he want his children ever be near that ever again either. He doesn't want his children anywhere near that kind of lifestyle. If I can make my children millionaires too, they'll never have to worry about money either. So him looking down the road, in his mind, makes sense. And I understand that the way he said it was kind of weird and kind of clunky, and it didn't have anything to do with the question that was asked of him at all. All of those things are fair criticisms. But when you start to say that Derrick Rose doesn't have a right to speak because he has money, and him having money and talking about wanting more money bothers you and offends your sensibilities, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. And maybe you should stop talking. It doesn't make any sense. The athletes will just say things that we like and don't like. And if they say something that we don't like, God forbid they ever say it and dream of doing anything other than playing sports. Like, he can't have other hobbies. He can't want anything else to do. I mean, come on. Come on. And then you got a guy like Julio Jones. You know, he's the NFL Offensive Player of the Month. He says, I have to execute better. That's the stuff we want to hear. It's not as fun, though, is it? This is Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
It's Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party going on right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party is an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. Don't miss the party going on today at Rick Davis half-off remounting party. Give your diamond ring a fresh new look or a new design, as Rick's Golden Diamonds will fix it quickly, or maybe even while you wait. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 40 years of service, 5301 Brainerd Road, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587, 580-2587 for Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. The half-off party's going on today, so don't miss it at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, y'all!
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
That smells so good. Smells like a big Italian dinner. But you're going to walk out with two. Buy one hot pizza, get one for free. Two pizzas. You got the two for the price of one at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. My favorite Italian restaurant of all the time. Now, I'm living in Hicks, and I go to Raphael's right down the street in Hicks and Pike, right near Highland Plaza. You're in Saudy Daisy? Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria in Saudy Daisy. Just next to Saudy Daisy Church of God. Hey, you're on Signal Mountain? There's a Raphael's Italian Restaurant and a Pizzeria. It's right on the main drag. You're going to love the pasta, the pizza. Buy one hot pizza, get one for free. Two pizzas. You got the two for the price of one at Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Tastes so good. Bring the whole family. Come on, Raphael's Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria. Mangia. Salute.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. My guest this week was the former Secretary of Education, Mr. William Bennett, whose controversial new book titled America the Strong is getting ready to hit bookstores this month. Don't miss a thought-provoking one-on-one conversation with William Bennett this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
So we're talking about things that sports fans like to hear. At least that was the last segment. I have another segment now. This is things that sports fans like to say. And maybe even not sports fans. Maybe I shouldn't put this all on you or me necessarily, but stuff that the media definitely likes to say. A lot of things that I've been hearing lately about the media, I feel like we've jumped on this story and run away with it, about how there's a quarterback crisis in the NFL, how the quarterback position in football is probably one of the hardest positions to play in sports, if not the hardest position to play in sports, because what you are asked to do is to be the head of an organization at a very young age. Sometimes the people that you are being asked to be in charge of are older than you. They have families, they have kids, and here comes, 23, 24-year-old Marcus Mariota. What does he know? And he's supposed to lead me. And that's difficult to take. It's difficult to accept, but that's the position that they're thrust into. And on top of that, playing the quarterback position is incredibly difficult. The amount of information that you have to process in terms of being at the line of scrimmage, recognizing what a defense gives you. Should I change this play? Should I change the line protection? Should I change this, that, and the other thing? And you have to diagnose it quickly and under pressure. And then you have to go through your progressions and make your reads as large 300-pound men try to chase you down and catch you. Oh, by the way, these 300-pound men are also really, really fast. They're real quick. So you have to do all of these things. And the media professional, the guru of today, is lamenting the loss of the traditional NFL quarterback. That, oh no, the quarterbacks of old have gone the way of the dodo as college football and the NFL grow further and further apart. And Steve Young was on Pardon the Interruption the other day, and he said these things, and I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, that seems crazy to me, because this mindset and this belief, and I'll read you some of the things that he said, because I personally don't agree with him, and I don't understand this mindset fully, but it's the mindset that we all have, that newer is worse. That back in my day, things were better. Back in the day, things were better. And if only people could appreciate how things were then, if we could return to the way things were then life would be better. And you're not immune to it. Okay. Sports aren't played in a bubble. Hurricane Joaquin is like the perfect example that sports aren't played in a bubble. The Redskins are going to play the Eagles. That game may or may not happen, because that's nature affecting our sports. Michigan plays Maryland, and Mr. Judd and I made our picks on that, which I will still put up on Facebook. I'm still lazy, you guys. I'm still lazy. But that game is going to be affected and maybe postponed as a result of Hurricane Joaquin. We do not watch sports in a bubble insulated from real life. Real life and sports intersect, and they intersect very frequently. And so when you start to talk about this mindset of back in the day, things were better, I mean, it's not immune to that either. And here's Steve Young on Pardon the Interruption saying on some of the things that he said yesterday. When he was asked about the state of the NFL quarterback, he said, quote, "I think there's some trouble in the future." He mocks the, quote, grab and chuck college game, which there are 4 plays communicated by a chart with Abe Lincoln and a chicken. And if you don't know college football charts, basically they have a lot of times they'll have a chart that'll have 4 images on them, 4 random pictures, and the quarterback is supposed to look over at the sideline, see the chart, and
know from those 4 images what play to run. It speeds up the game a lot. It makes it incredibly simple. And so that's what Steve Young is referring to, that quarterbacks these days don't know how to rattle off an entire, offense. They're not going to be able to call a spider to Y banana and know what that means and know what each part of that means and how to audible out of that, because they look at a chart with Abraham Lincoln and a chicken. Another thing that he said was that NFL quarterbacking will, quote, always be about processing power, and there are only few human beings who can process it fast enough under pressure. At most, you have 10 really top-line quarterbacks ever, and when you have 3 or 4 that have been the same for a number of years, no one's really breaking in. We're training a lot of guys to throw the football, but not to process. And he said the same thing about the offensive line, that they had insufficient college training because it's all grab and throw. The linemen step back, pass block for a couple of seconds, and then move on. So here's the thing. I agree/disagree with some of that. There is a lot of, look, NFL quarterback is difficult to play, and there is very few people who can process at the speed necessary to play that position. What I disagree with is that suddenly the quarterbacks coming out today are incapable of learning how to process at those speeds. Okay? I disagree with that, because Steve Young, it's easy to look back at the past, no pun intended, with rose-colored glasses. It's easy to look back at the past and say, this is when football was great. This is when quarterbacking was great. But if you look at the drafts back then, and I'm not even going all the way back in the day, I'm talking about like late 90s, early 2000s. If you look at those drafts, people were missing on quarterbacks then, and they weren't missing on quarterbacks because these guys didn't know how to throw the ball. They were missing on guys because they were processing in a pro-style system, got to the NFL where the processing needs to be faster, and they couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep up. Go to the 2001 draft, in which the only quarterback that came out of that draft worth a lick of anything is Tom Brady. And nobody knew he was going to be good because they took him 199th in the 6th round. Okay, nobody even knew that Tom Brady was going to be good. And all 6 of the guys that went before him, T. Martin from Tennessee. T. Martin won a national title at Tennessee. T. Martin was a good college quarterback. Just couldn't cut it in the NFL. Chris Redman, good college quarterback. Couldn't cut it in the NFL. Giovanni Carmazzi, iffier on that one, but he had a strong arm. He knew how to throw the ball. Okay. And college football back then wasn't, quote unquote, grab and throw. So what's their excuse? Chad Pennington was injury prone. Chad Pennington could have been really good. He just couldn't stay healthy. And that's unfortunate, because I think he could have been a really good quarterback. But 5 of the guys in that draft taken ahead of Brady, with the exception of Pennington, not able to process the game fast enough. They just weren't. So it's got nothing to do with it now. And I'm looking at Marcus Mariota, who's playing with the Titans, and he looks amazing. He looks incredibly impressive. And he won the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Month award. And Marcus Mariota is a guy that came from that spread attack in Oregon. If ever there was a team that was grab and throw, it's the Oregon Ducks. Now, Marcus Mariota was completing over 67% of his passes or something like that over there, like a ridiculous clip. And everyone wondered, did Marcus Mariota have the skills to translate to the NFL? Well, I mean, Marcus Mariota's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's got a good arm. So those weren't the skills that we're worried about, obviously. We're worried about the mental acumen. We're worried that Marcus Mariota could be RG3 too. That we're worried about that because that RG3 had all the skills, strong arm, he's fast. I mean, he's not the biggest guy, but let's face it, he's more durable than people give him credit for in terms of the size of his body and the strength. He just falls weird and wrong. And, like you fall with your leg up and then Hiloti Nada hits it. Yeah, you're going to tear your MCL. That is pretty much the expected result of what would happen there. You just got to learn how to fall in situations like that. And Robert can't, but like in terms of the mental aspect of the game, seems to be passing Robert Griffin by. He's not changing the line protections when he needs to, and all of these things. And you could argue that at Baylor, he didn't learn how to do these things, and that's the reason why he can't. But Marcus Mariota's in the league, stepped right in, and he did it. And in case you're going to tell me that, oh, Marcus Mariota is a special case, no, he isn't. A look of promising NFL quarterbacks, some of which played in pro-style offenses and some of which don't, still proves my point, though, because Steve Young is saying that the modern NFL quarterback or modern college quarterback isn't translating to the NFL. But if you still have college producing guys coming out of pro-style systems, then his point is still moot because these guys are playing. Jameis Winston's going to be good. Andrew Luck is good. And I know the tides have turned on Andrew Luck because he's throwing a lot of interceptions and he's turning the ball over a lot, and the Colts don't look very good. But you know what? The Colts haven't been very good, and Andrew Luck's been carrying that team. He throws a lot of interceptions because he throws the ball like 50 times a game. His shoulder's injured right now. I mean, poor dude's arm is going to fall off if he doesn't slow down. But what else do they do? Because they can't run the ball. He's got to throw it 50 times a game or the Colts don't even have a chance. You can't turn that on Andrew Luck and say Andrew Luck's bad. Andrew Luck is still a very good quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater, pro-style offense in Louisville. Teddy Bridgewater looking really good for the Vikings. Russell Wilson did not play in a pro-style offense. Well, I mean, he did and then he didn't. He played pro-style, I believe, at North Carolina State, but then when he transferred to Wisconsin, he was not. Russell Wilson running a lot of read option and things, but adjusting to the quarterback position in the NFL because he plays for the Seahawks and they have a lot of good offensive line strength. They run the ball incredibly well, and their defense is so good that Russell Wilson has gotten time to learn the position. And I think that is the issue. We don't allow NFL quarterbacks to develop anymore. That has changed. You would draft a guy in the first round before, and then he'd sit on the bench. For instance, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers came out of a spread attack at California, University of California. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league, and he's the best quarterback I've ever seen in my life. I'll say that. The way that he plays the game, that if I had to talk to somebody and show somebody a game and they hadn't watched sports before and they weren't sure if they were going to like it, and they weren't sure, like, what's a good game look like, I would show them an Aaron Rodgers game. Don't really care who the opponent is. Aaron Rodgers is playing the position at a master level. I don't know that anybody has looked that good. He's got the fastest release in the game. He's playing so well that you forget that he has like nobody at wide receiver. Like James Jones is his guy right now. James Jones is terrible. He left the Packers, and the only reason why he's back with the Packers is because he tried out for 2 other teams, and they released him. They didn't want James Jones. And the Packers just needed somebody to be a body to replace Jordy Nelson, who tore his ACL. And oh, look, Aaron Rodgers is making him look like the second coming of Jerry Rice. So there's that. So that's a thing that is also happening. But Aaron Rodgers came out of this spread attack, this same attack that Steve Young is criticizing and calling the grab and throw, that I think that a lot of these quarterbacks coming out of spread attacks, they're getting less credit than they ought to. Because here's the thing. They do make quick reads, they do make quick throws, they don't go through the same long progressions that NFL quarterbacks would, which makes sense. They're not professionals, but whatever. They still do go through progressions, right? They still do have to read the defense. They do still have to read the field. They just don't have to do it at the intensive level that was previously expected of quarterbacks, and they don't have to do it at the intensive level that the NFL expects you to. So yes, there is a bit of a setback there, but to say that it's impossible that we're going to have guys that are in the league for 10, 15 years and they're top tier guys is insane. Because going down the list of Luck, Bridgewater, Mariota, Winston, Wilson, Derek Carr looking good in Oakland with the Raiders, and Blake Bortles down in Jacksonville. The only reason why he's not a guy getting any media attention is because Jacksonville is tiny and they're an awful football team, which is in no way his fault because he doesn't draft the team. He doesn't fill out the roster. The fact that the Jaguars are a bad team and have no real defensive line pressure and also don't seem to have any real way of running the ball, nor do they have fantastic receivers, is due to organizational incompetence more so than the fact that Blake Bortles isn't a good quarterback. I think he's quite a good quarterback. And you've got all of these guys here, and they all look promising, and they may very well hang around for a long time. But let's not forget now that J.P. Losman and Rex Grossman and Giovanni Carmazzi, like I mentioned before, these are guys that were in the league that were drafted pretty high, and we all expected them to be good, and none of them made it. None of them made it. And it wasn't because the college game was so much superior back in the day. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Those guys came out of that era. Just guys who are able to wash out now as much as they are then. You just need to look at it objectively. This is Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Expect cloudy and cooler weather out there through the afternoon with some more showers pushing back in. Highs into the upper 60s tonight. Lows into the upper 50s with more showers. A wet day Friday with more rain pushing in. Highs only to the lower 60s. Showers tapering off Saturday. Right now during Kohl's Fall For You sale, take an extra 15% off. Go to Kohls.com to download your savings path. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Are you tired of feeling like just another account number to your financial advisor? Try something refreshingly different. Call Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal in Hickson at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection, loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's EJ Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156.
Sports can be a very irrational thing. We're a bunch of irrational people for liking it. That's the point of this show, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's more or less the point of this show. It's not that I'm trying to make you uncomfortable for liking sports. I do like sports. I do. I've been watching sports ever since I was a kid. Me and my dad would lose entire Sundays just watching football. It's just how it is, and it's part of my life. I can't escape it. It's part of who I am. I'm happy that it's part of who I am, but I'm also a very critical person. And when I see things that don't make sense and don't add up, I get critical. I turn on just a little bit of a sense in my brain that just I try and break things down
I enjoy doing it. And I suppose that's just part of my personality, that in order for me to properly enjoy something and understand it, I have to poke as many holes in it as humanly possible. And then once I'm satisfied that despite all of the holes in the thing, if the thing is still sort of holding water, yeah, I'll go for it. So I'm still here. Still with sports. And that's what this show is all about. Just trying to understand this wacky sports world that we're all in. Like if you're an SEC fan, okay, and the entire Georgia team, say you're a Vols fan. Sorry to pick on you guys this week, but I mean it's been the story this week. Like I've been on every football forum, and like the Vols are the joke this week. And I hate that that's the case, but at the same time, like how intensely the entire internet is like, how could you lose that game to Florida? Should tell you everything you know for Butch Jones. And I understand that some people need to back away from the ledge. Back away from the ledge. Back away. Okay, Tennessee football, it's not going anywhere. Still going to be here. Still looks promising. Okay, all of those recruits that you gained, all those recruits that you got, all right, they're still here. If you start to see people like mass transferring away, you could feel a little worried, but they're still here. You're all right. But if you're a Vols fan, let's say, for just purely hypothetical purposes, not at all because this is funny in some way, and the entire Vols team was swapped out for the entire Bulldogs team, okay? Just guy for guy. Just not even worry about the why. You'd be rooting for the Vols, right? Like you'd still be rooting for the Vols. Why? Because you're rooting for the jersey. You're actually rooting for the laundry. The orange is what you root for. Tennessee orange. You root for the Vols. And your team would be much better. Your team would be much better. I don't think anybody would complain about that switch. Now, swap your whole team for the entirety of Vanderbilt's team, and you're still rooting for the Vols. Everyone would complain, but you're still rooting for the Vols. Doesn't that strike you as somewhat irrational? That the people involved actually don't matter that much. The people don't matter. The idea does. The idea of Tennessee Volunteers football matters more than the people playing it. And that's what gets us into all of these, I don't want to say philosophical conundrums, because, you know, I took Philosophy 101. That's about as far down that path as I went. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. Philosophy was a fun class, but like, that's about as far as I went down that path. I don't consider myself a philosopher. If I do, I'm only a pseudo philosopher. Sure, I have read some books, but let's be honest here. It's not a real love of philosophy that I have. Okay, I don't have a passion for it necessarily, but it does bring up some philosophical conundrums, right? Like if what you're rooting for matters only on the level that the idea is what you root for. And you can point the same thing back in my face. Okay, I'm a Redskins fan, and I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I hate them with the passion of 10,000 burning suns. I don't want any of them to be injured. I just want them to all be completely healthy so they have no excuses and then never win a game again. That's what I want. That's what I want. But if you traded the entire Dallas Cowboys team for the entire Washington Redskins team straight up, I go from being the biggest hater of Des Bryant to his biggest fan. Like overnight. Overnight. I'm a Des Bryant fan now because he's a Redskin. And there wouldn't be any complaints there either because the Redskins would be immediately made better by swapping rosters with the Cowboys. I have no trouble in saying that they're a better football team at all. But when you care more about the idea than the people, it affects your decision making and it affects how it is that you see those people. And so we were talking about Derrick Rose earlier and all of the flack that he's catching for talking about money. And then, of course, like the day after he mentioned the money thing, he gets elbowed in the face and he breaks his face. And for some reason, this is either hilarious to people or causing people to scorn him. Like I was listening to Fox Sports Radio, one of the national shows the other day, and they were just killing Derrick Rose. You know, just, oh, look at all the money that you have from Adidas. Look at all the money that the Bulls are paying you. All of these things. How could you say that thing that you said? And it's like you could only come to that mindset if the idea of the NBA and the idea of the Chicago Bulls matter to you more than the person Derrick Rose, who just had surgery because somebody broke his face. That literally the host said this: Derrick Rose broke his face in practice today, but did you know that Derrick Rose also broke his brain? Which I understand, he said, for the shock value of it and the hilarity that ought to bring to mind. But here's a man that literally had the orbital bone, the bone underneath your eye, crushed to such an intense degree that we were thinking that he might be out for a little while before playing basketball again. He'll be out for 2 weeks is what the Bulls expect. So he'll be back in time for the season to start. But I've had eye injuries playing basketball. I've had knee injuries playing basketball. And when you're going through them, there is nothing hilarious about that at all. And there's something weird about a person who doesn't play sports, or who at least does not play them professionally, mocking a person who does play the game professionally for his inability to stay healthy, as though his ability to stay healthy were a choice that he had. You cannot strengthen your ACL. There are things that you can do to prevent the injury. One of those things would be to not play like Derrick Rose. That would be one of the things that you could do. But you know what? If he didn't play like Derrick Rose, we wouldn't know who he was. He wouldn't have made it to the NBA. He wouldn't have become the youngest MVP in the history of the league. None of those things would have happened. The payday that we're jumping on him for talking about wouldn't even be a discussion, because if he didn't play like Derrick Rose, he wouldn't be anybody. Derrick Rose plays an extremely aggressive slashing style to the basket. Okay, when he attacks ferociously. And you know what? Your legs, not that different from the tires on your car. There's only so many miles in them. And when they go, they're gone. And Derrick Rose pushed his tires a lot harder than anybody else did. And it paid off until one day that it didn't. And then it didn't again. And then it didn't again. 3 knee injuries. 3 knee injuries later, and it's okay to laugh and make fun of Derrick Rose for wanting financial security. It's like, yeah, if Derrick Rose suddenly stopped making money today, the car that he drives, the house that he lives in, these things are going to still require payment. Like the bills don't stop just because you didn't buy them. So he look, he that's the way that he chose to word that, and that's the way he chose to say it. Yes, it's clunky. Yes, it doesn't work purely. I get it. But at the same time, if he wants to talk about his money, well, within his rights to do so. And for you to dehumanize him by telling him that he ought not to do anything but think about basketball, because that's really the crime here. The crime is not that he talked about money. It's that by talking about money, he is not talking about basketball. He is not talking about what a great season he wants to have and how he looks forward to the team being together and all of those things. He's not talking about that. What Derrick Rose is talking about is money. Ironically enough, Derrick Rose's teammates, none of them have complained. Not one person of them has complained. But that's the sports media. We're just going to take this story and run with it, and crushing Derrick Rose is the trendy thing to do, so that's what we're going to do. You see the same thing happening in Cleveland. Nobody cites any sources. No sources cited whatsoever. Okay. I know that during the Watergate scandal, there were not sources cited. You just had to say sources say, because that's a story that needed to get out. And if it didn't get out, the fact that Richard Nixon was a crook, not going to be known to the world. So you cite the sources anonymously. You know, you've got Deep Throat as a source. That's fine. But in modern sports journalism, it's rampant. It's rampant. And like I learn, I'm a journalism student, and I learn in school. You got to cite your sources. You've got to cite your sources. Like, you don't just use anonymous sources all the time. But that's all sports journalism is lately, is anonymous sources, anonymous this and anonymous that. And like, I understand on some level that, yeah, if they don't cite those sources anonymously, we don't even get these stories. But at the same time, some of these things don't seem real. Some of these things don't make any sense. For instance, Johnny Manziel with the Cleveland Browns, he started 2 games when Josh McCown injured himself in week 1, being ridiculous, really. I mean, Josh McCown was running to the end zone. He stretched the ball out like he was going to score. He did the whole John Elway, I got hit by 3 defenders and I helicoptered, fumbled the football, didn't score the touchdown, turned the ball over, and injured himself. Like, that was the worst sequence of events that a person could have ever had in one singular instance. I am a quarterback. I'm running towards what apparently should be the goal line. Here's my opportunity to shine and show people that I do, in fact, deserve to be a starting quarterback in this league. I stretch my arm out to score the touchdown. I get hit. I get helicoptered through the air. I fumble the football. I don't score the touchdown. Oh, and now I'm injured. And Johnny Manziel comes in. He fills in. He looks pretty good. Manziel looks good. And then Coach Mike Pettin says Josh McCown is still the quarterback when he comes back from injury. McCown is coming back this season, or this game, this week coming up. And you know what? I think that Mike Pettin made the right decision. Johnny Manziel's still a young quarterback that needs to develop. But by making that decision, apparently, according to anonymous sources on the team, anonymous players, the team is split over Manziel and McCown. That is unnecessary drama that I assure you, that I feel reasonably safe in saying is not happening. There might be a couple of guys that are like, oh, yeah, I thought we looked better when we had Manziel out there. But nobody was there like the reports were that there were guys livid that Manziel wasn't starting over McCown. I have a lot of trouble believing that. It's also been reported. It's reported by TMZ. But here's the thing. TMZ Sports, they have a pretty decent reputation. And do you know why? Because there's an entire culture around not really citing your sources. ESPN doesn't cite their sources. If I hear Chris Broussard, ESPN's NBA analyst, say that he's heard from multiple sources that anything is going to happen one more time, I might track him down and slap him, because I don't know why you would say that. LeBron, I loved what LeBron did this last offseason. Not this one, but the one before, when he went back to Cleveland and everyone was trying to figure out where LeBron was going to go, and everybody had sources saying LeBron was going here and LeBron was going there. And then LeBron released an essay saying where he was going to go. And it was so funny to watch him, watch Chris Broussard on ESPN, and watch man, I don't remember the name of the reporter, the guy that always followed LeBron since high school. Watch those guys' faces as they scramble to try and figure out how anybody could have known that LeBron was going to Cleveland. LeBron kept it a secret, released it in an essay himself. Absolutely love that, because sports journalism lately comes off as a sham. This show's not a sham, though. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for listening. See you in 23 hours here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga. CBS News. I'm Harley Carnes. There is breaking news about Hurricane Joaquin. It is now Category 4, 130-mile-an-hour winds, and it is pounding the Bahamas. There's heavy rain there. Hundreds of people are reported trapped in their homes on Acklands Island. San Salvador, Cat Island, and Rum Key are expected to be hit hardest, and then the huge storm will rumble on toward the U.S. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe.
We're going to see a significant amount of rainfall throughout the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. We will have flooding. We will see trees down. We will see power lost.
Where the storm may go ashore is an assortment of guesses at this point. As promised, U.S. and Russian military officials have held their first meeting aimed at avoiding escalation